There are many ways to import data into Eve, whether that be your PADI certification data, whether it be manually entering data in by going to stock items new, suppliers new, etc. We're going to look here at how you can use Microsoft Excel to bulk import data into Eve. If we go to File from the top menu and then to Import, keep the radio button of Import from Excel highlighted, hit Import. I'm then going to open up, as one example, the Customers template. So I move to Customers and highlight that and open up by hitting Show Template. And that brings up the following file. There are some key points, and these points are true of all of the import templates within Eve. The first key point is please do leave column A, which on every import template, whether for customers, whether for stock items, whether for stock types, etc., will be as you see here. Please leave this column as it is. Eve will write an X into each of these rows as the data is imported. You will then see that row 1 of every column has a particular title in it. It is important when you see these titles, you'll see that I've highlighted first name, and you'll see here that I'm going to highlight last name, to please leave those spellings as you see them. Each of these spellings allows Eve to know which bit of data from the Excel file to bring into which part of the database within Eve. So first name spelt as you see there, last name spelt as you see there, is important to leave those spellings as you find them in the initial template. You can move any of the column headers where you might wish, with the exception, of course, of that initial column A, but please do leave those spellings. You'll also note that in this example, on the Customers template, that first name and last name are red, whereas middle initial and customer number and occupation and every other column header is standard default black as far as the font is concerned. Red column headers indicate mandatory data, i.e. any row that does not contain both an entry in the first name and the last name will not be imported. So at the very least, any customer you want to import into Eve must have information in both the first name and last name. Other elements of this data, such as middle initials, known as, the occupation of a customer, their date of birth, their sex, their marital status, physical address, work address, contact details, and so on, all the way through to whether they are a club member, what mailing lists you already have customers on, what customer types they may be, inquiry source of how a customer first got in touch with you, and so on, up to and including current certification levels. All of these are not mandatory bits of information to bring into Eve, but clearly the more of that data you have, the better. So that's an orientation to the Customers template, and in the same way, if I return to Eve and now highlight Stock Items and click Show Template, we will see here that we have 4 columns of mandatory information: stock type, manufacturer, stock number and description. Same rules as per previous. Leave column A alone. By all means change the order of any other column. Please don't change any of these spellings, and do remember that each of these 4 columns contain mandatory information, i.e. any stock item must have a stock type, a manufacturer, a stock number and a description. Other elements I'm sure you do want to bring in relate to cost prices, retail prices, barcode numbers, whether you want Eve to track stock levels, whether that item is available for purchase order, And during the setup of Eve, one of the things you can do is use this file as a way of doing an initial inventory count or stock take, i.e. indicate the current number in stock, the numbers on orders, ideal numbers, etc. So that's an orientation to probably the two most common import templates available for use from Excel to bring information into Eve, but the rules with regard to leaving column A as it is, not changing spellings in the column headers, by all means moving around those other column headers where they might be best for you from a visual aspect, and bearing in mind which columns are the mandatory data apply to all of the various import templates that you can see listed here, and you can find at any point within Eve by going to File, Import, Import from Excel, and then highlighting and showing that template as you wish. Further videos will look at how we can actually do one of those imports once we've created our file or received a file from a manufacturer.